New perspective and new audio of the air traffic mix-up at DIA. The one where a tower controller didn't realize for a few minutes that a pilot was asking for a legitimate emergency landing. 9 News reporter Matt Flener has new details on what happened Tuesday morning.
We're in the flight simulator at Metro State. Just imagine smoke in the cockpit, as the pilot reported, and then trying to land the plane with extremely snowy conditions.
And I wondered if the pilots had to deal with as much smoke in the cockpit as we did in the cabin.
As one of 21 people on board United Express Flight 5912, Linda Irwin says the absolute credit she's still here today should go to her pilot and co-pilot.
I think it's a miracle they were able to land the plane.
Tuesday morning, just before 8:30 a.m., you hear a voice from her plane's cockpit to air traffic control.
5912, emergency smoke in cockpit, roll trucks, please.
And who is that?
5912.
The controller seemed to question what he had heard, and about a minute later...
Did you hear that?
Yeah.
I know that's BS. I know it is.
You know it's what?
United 12. Do you know United 12 anywhere?
I'm looking on board. I'm looking over right now. Hold on.
Thanks.
You say United 12?
United 12, yeah.
As controllers tried to look for a United Flight 12,
We landed hard.
Flight 5912 had landed.
AC 5912, we're on the runway. We're evacuating. We're evacuating C48.
The pilot told the control tower passengers were getting off the plane on the runway. And even after that...
United 740, turn right to 095, maintain 9,000.
095 and 9,000, United 740.
And I apologize if you probably heard there, that's not real what we're hearing on the frequency.
About 30 seconds later, the controller finally realized it was real, and then told the pilots help was on the way.
You'd really want to understand who said what to whom.
As the questions about the control tower continued, this passenger says her flight crew saved her life.
They deserve all the credit in the world. They did a great job.
In Denver, Matt Flener, 9 News.
Last year, the FAA reported nearly 1,900 controller errors at airports nationwide. Our partners at USA Today say that still means more than 99% of controller operations came off without a hitch.
If you have ever put up a tent or taken one down, you know it is often not an easy thing. Now imagine trying to take down some of the support lines without moving the tent itself. That's almost impossible, but that's what's happening at Denver's largest tent, the roof of Denver International Airport. 9 News reporter Matt Flener is here to explain more of this process. And Matt, part of that roof's cabling has to be moved to make way for the new train station and the new hotel on the south end of the terminal.
Yeah, it's an amazing feat, Mark. We're on the south end of DIA's main terminal right now. I want you to take a look up at this roof. It's 2 layers of very thin fiberglass that keep that snow and the rain off. Now take a look outside at the cabling system out there. Project managers have to keep this tent in place, but move some of that massive cabling out there and make sure it all happens so nobody inside even notices.
They get excited about something like this because it's not just a regular building.
Designed to look like Colorado's mountains, the roof of Denver International Airport is simply spectacular.
It's iconic. It's iconic.
And on the south end, the 2 very first foothills, if you will, on this 375,000 square foot tent, those are connected to the ground by these cables.
This is a unique and challenging project.
Cables standing in the way of the new train station and hotel coming to DIA.
All the cables that you see holding the roof now have to come out in order to get the new building in.
That's why project managers,
nobody's done this,
are going through a meticulous process of transferring the weight of the roof onto these temporary steel towers.
That's like hanging up, if we were hanging 8 full-size buses off the bottom of that roof, that's what loads on those masts.
Which is why every single mile of cabling has to be calculated to tenths of an inch.
To maintain the geometry of the roof while transferring all those loads.
Of course, being a designer and a contractor, you have to think about the what-ifs.
The worst-case scenario is that the existing roof would just lean into the building, probably in the first 7 bays. It wouldn't collapse, it wouldn't fall down, it would just lean into the building. It would probably scare some people, but it wouldn't go anywhere.
But they say no one will even notice when DIA's roof is unhooked from the ground.
Nothing's going to happen. It's going to go just fine.
That's right. The final pin holding that cable that's up and down right there, that's going to be removed on August 29th. The mayor is scheduled to knock out that pin with a big mallet. And Mark, they say they will know long before that happens that everything is good to go. They're doing all kinds of testing to make sure all of the transfer of that weight is just fine.
If you plan to fly out of Denver International Airport over the next 2 years, then this is for you. Workers are building a new hotel and train station that will make getting into and out of the airport very tricky. 9 News reporter Matt Flener shows us today's practice run for a major detour at DIA.
What we're doing is simulating how level 6 west will work.
All the way down. It's all united. All the way down. Level 6 west at Denver International Airport.
To be able to simulate something like this is amazing.
Has never been this far south of the main terminal.
Yeah, everything's pretty guided. Signs everywhere. You got cones. You got the Jersey barriers blocking everything off. So
you see, this is not level 6 west as it is right now. The level where you drop off people flying on United, U.S. and British Airways. No, the way you get into and out of that side of DIA will be completely turned around come June.
I think that's going to be a pretty quick learning process.
So on this day, more than 100 airport workers acting as travelers and family drove the new way in to drop people off.
Get out, open your doors, open the trunk, get the baby out, get the luggage out, do what you would normally do.
Pulling up to the curb on the driver's side on this mock course.
They'll do their drop off. They can only leave one way.
That's when drivers will do a U-turn and go right back out.
Should be very simple.
Yet should be is not the way it always is. Especially after that practice run the other day.
The one complaint that the police had the other day is it wasn't realistic because they said y'all were too nice to them.
Thus the reason for one more run through.
Then the next officer.
That guy over there cut me off.
Get out of here, then go ahead and feel free to.
More realistic this time, so you don't have that much trouble in June.
Once they get onto that detour, they can't go wrong.
In Denver, Matt Flener, 9 News.
It could be a mess. The work on the west side should take about a year. Then the east side, where Frontier and Southwest Airlines are located, will undergo a similar detour that will also last a year.
When drivers get used to it, it'll just about be done.
Those poor cops out of DIA on that traffic, they can take a beating. Those poor guys.
Sure
That's a tough job.
Yeah. A live look over Denver International Airport tonight. The changes in the skies above are only noticeable if you are in a plane or maybe live close to where they take off and land.
New flight patterns at DIA are supposed to make the landings easier, save thousands of gallons of fuel, and reduce noise for everyone on the ground. 9 News reporter Matt Flener shows us how it works.
I want to show you some new animation just released in 9 News this week about some of those changes that will take place at DIA when it comes to planes landing out there. This is the way that planes used to land. It was a stair-step effect. Think of it like a plane coming down on a series of stairs. The plane steps down in altitude all the way to the ground using a series of beacons. Well, no longer. The new landings at DIA will be a very gradual descent based on GPS technology, helping planes land easier.
And the engines are running, and it's very safe to do, but they are gliding from altitude all the way down to the runway, and again, that saves fuel and reduces noise.
Jeppesen in Inglewood has worked on these new procedures at DIA for 3 years. CEO Mark Ventine put a number on the average fuel savings for a major airline.
An airline can save as much as 500,000 gallons of fuel a year, and that translates into real cost savings for the airline, and of course the lower cost to the airline should translate into lower ticket prices.
That is, if those airlines actually pass the savings along to customers. The pilots that actually flew these new procedures reported a very successful first week out at DIA, and we'll check back in a couple of months to see how much fuel the airlines are saving and whether or not those noise levels reduce as well. This is Matt Flener, 9 News.
Now, this won't happen overnight. Pilots and air traffic controllers still have to train on those new procedures.